Hey folks, thanks for tuning in again. It's Eric Morehouse with your Richmond, Virginia real estate consultants with eXp Realty, highlighting another Agent 101 topic, which is getting your annual business plan together to identify your daily tasks. So I wanted to show you kind of a general overview of what I kind of did for the year 2018. The goal, you start with the annual goal. I always do it with income. Some people do transactions. I don't get that because you could have a $10 million transaction and a $10,000 transaction. And if your goal is 10 million bucks, you're done in one transaction. So I do it based off of income. The income goal for this year, 250,000. Obviously wanted to account for expenses annually, profit, savings, etc. But to find out what your daily tasks will be, you kind of break it down eventually to what we have here. Calls you make, connections, so actually somebody having a conversation with you, meetings set from those calls, client signed, which is your conversion rate, and then finally the percentage closed of either those buyers or sellers. So you want to find out a couple things. For you newer agents out there, obviously you're not going to be able to base this off of last year's numbers. What I did is I tried to utilize my split that I had last year and assume that I would probably do about the same, meaning the percentage of buyers and the percentage of sellers. What I would recommend for agents out there who are brand new is assume that maybe 70% of your income is going to be coming from buyers, okay? So do that split, use the average transaction and the average commission from that specific transaction, whether it's 2.5, 3, and whether it's $250,000 home or whatever in your area. And be modest, okay? Don't expect you're gonna do exceptionally well. Be honest to figure out what you should do on a daily basis. So you have essentially your goal of a commission check on these average transactions. So what do you need to do on a daily basis to get that transaction closed, to get the total transactions necessary to hit your income goal for the year? Calls, connections, meetings, client signed, and closings. So you have to build this thing backwards from the percentages that, again, we'll try to assume that maybe you have a 70% conversion rate once you have a meeting. And we'll say once you get a call connected, we'll say maybe you have a 50% conversion to actually set up that meeting. So build these things back. So we'll say, for example, maybe you found out after you bring this equation all the way back to the daily tasks that you really only need to make about 20 calls a day. You have to connect with at least 2 people, and you have to set up one or maybe half of a meeting. We'll say 1 meeting every 2 days to hit your goal. So if you're doing your daily tasks, if you've only done 10 of your 20 calls, or if you did not set up a meeting for a couple of days, then you know to stay on track for your goal, your annual income goal, you have to do a few more calls, you have to have a couple more connections, and you have to set at least 1 more meeting to stay on track. Agents all the time get confused on what they need to do. If they're lucky enough to have a listing or they're lucky enough to have a buyer to shop around with, then a lot of their time gets devoted to that and they get sidetracked to all the business building activities, which if you've studied anything that has to do with Brian Buffini, he's all about devoting time that you have to devote on a daily basis to building the business, no matter how much business you have. Because in a couple of weeks, that business will be gone. And if you did not support the business to be built, then in a couple of weeks, it will start to slow down. So spending your time to make the calls, whether you're working your sphere of influence, whether you're cold calling, whether you're calling up for sale by owners, you gotta make the calls and understand the goals of each process. The call isn't to close the deal. You're not calling somebody to have them buy a home. You're calling them, and the goal is to set the meeting. When you're at the meeting, the goal is to get them to sign to either buy or sell with you. When you're selling their home or when you're helping them find one, the goal there is to have them get their home sold or find something to buy and close on it. So keep your eye on the prize, stay focused, and get this thing written down and in front of your face. It's very important, even on a daily basis. Even if this thing is just in general terms, it will still keep you focused so that if you're running behind, if you skipped a day or 2, then that means you need to do 80 calls the next day and you need to set 2 meetings minimum. So pull this thing together. If you have any questions, I know this is kind of general terms, but if you have any questions on how to set this up and how to set yourself up for your daily tasks to stay on target for your annual goal, give me a call. Or if you have any additional comments or recommendations for topics that you'd like me to cover, put them in the comments below. And thanks for tuning in. Take care.